Welcome to today's episode. We are looking at different ways that we get to be free, especially when we've got a brain that doesn't want us to be. We are looking together at different ways that we get to actualize more because you know that you are made for more. I'm going to show you throughout these podcast episodes, and today especially, how that changing your thoughts literally is the route to being able to change your whole life. And in today's episode, I interview Jen, who is somebody that has been through trauma and is moving and navigating her life in a completely different direction. She talks with us about her brain surgery and about how that was a moment and a catalyst for actualizing more in her life. She talks about life as being a roller coaster, and I reference something similar in my book, in that so often life feels like you're on a roller coaster in your white suit with your best latte, and you're like, what even is this? And she's taught us and speaking into some of the strategies that she's used to navigate life in this roller coaster way. We talk and delve into this notion of prioritizing children. We talk a lot about our children and about our role within their lives, how putting them first and doing all the things for them actually doesn't always turn out to be as helpful as our brain would like to convince us that it is, and how Jen's journey to better health and a whole new business venture has materialized out of what could have been a really desperate time in her life that she has alchemized to create her more. So let's dive in with Jen.
Hello and welcome to episode 37, and I have Jenny Longstaff, who's my first ever guest ever. And this is Jenny, this is so full circle for us both, I think, because we've been connected since the beginning of time, it feels like. It feels like when I think about my journey in this world, you are literally side by side with me, because we connected right from the beginning of this madness.
Yeah.
And we have just been alongside each other for this whole journey. So the fact that you are the first, because we did a little competition, didn't we? And you won. Yay! So the prizes, the options were, one of them was to come on the podcast, and that's what you chose. So here we are. It feels like a beautiful full circle moment. So I want to say thank you for being here and alongside me in this journey.
Thank you for the opportunity to do something the old me totally wouldn't have considered doing.
Honestly, when I said the prizes, I'm like, these are the options. Like, we could get a one-to-one. There was a couple of things, can't remember now. And you were like, I'm gonna do the podcast. I'm like, we're gonna talk about buffalo moves in the podcast, but that's a buffalo move in and of itself. You'd be like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna step into, Emma. Does it feel like the most comfortable thing you've ever done?
Nope.
And this is the bravery of the buffalo. Yes, and you've got an exciting day at your house right now, because you've just had some new friends move in with you.
It's been a bit of a weird week. This time last Tuesday, I had cats on the horizon for some point in 2024. It was going to be a goal next year. And then my high school best friend sent me a screenshot from one of her friends in the Middle East. 2 cats needing a home in Scotland. And I was on the bus home from the school drop-off, and I just thought, why not? So I sent the person a message, and it got the ball rolling, and they arrived last night.
And here they are. It's like when you open yourself up to life, to saying yes, to thinking, this doesn't make sense, and yet here we are. You're like, oh, well, I'll put this as a goal for 2024, and the universe is like, all right now. We could just do that. How about that? Okay.
I went with it. My
Bring it.
teenager and my parentals were all like, it's a bit too fast. Slow down a bit. It might be a bit dodge. They're very much real, and they're here.
It's so exciting. Okay, let's dive into some questions.
Okay.
And this is going to be easier for you because we've worked together so closely for so long now. But I'm going to give some...
But my answers always come out slightly different because I take something different away each time.
Every time. That's it, isn't it? That's the power of the work and mastering a few small elements. What we want to do, what the brain wants us to do, is just become an expert of everything. That's like, no, there's mastery of a few things. We were at jiu-jitsu last week, and one of the little kids there was like, are we just gonna keep doing these moves? And Sensei was like, they're the exact same moves from white belts to black belts. Like, there's nothing new. It's mastery of them, and that's what you're dedicated to. You're dedicated to being a master of 7 mainly, but different principles, that when you master your life, and that the codes of your existence get to come through, and that's when the magic of you comes through, and you're determined and dedicated with that, and I love it. But for context in the podcast, we might expand on a few of the concepts, but I think everybody that is in this world alongside us, they understand the power of those words. There's more than this. Like, that concept. This ain't it. At whatever level we get to, we're like, oh, there's more. So what would you say was your most defining, profound, there's more than this moment? As you reflect back, what's that moment where you're like, you know what? There is more than this, and I am determined.
The first thing that comes to mind was back in 12 years ago, after my brain surgery. I spent a week in hospital because the pain was just so overwhelming, which I realized was my body trying to tell me to pay attention. And I came home. Ella was 16, 17 months old. And my fiance took himself off to bed with severe depression because he'd been so high at the success of my brain surgery. And something clicked right there that's not how you treat someone you're meant to love. I don't think that's the kind of place I want my child to grow up in. And I think that's when I started to click that this isn't right for me.
There's more than this. This is not my life. Isn't it incredible? Where you can look back now at brain surgery. I don't think it gets more intense or terrifying than needing surgery on your brain. But when
I've never been more grateful for eyesight. It was about as big as a tennis ball afterwards.
It's those moments, isn't it, that by all of society standards, like, that should have been the worst, the most terrifying thing. But here you are being like, oh my, no, that was a moment for me. That was a moment that I was like, this ain't it. I don't know what it is, but you know what? It ain't this.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make moves, and I'm gonna do things that I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna shock myself that I was capable of actualizing those things. So who were you back then? When you're thinking about in that moment, when you look back, do you even recognize that person anymore?
No. Jenny back then was very dependent on my fiance and my parents, who were helping us out with raising Ella at the time. I didn't have a big circle. I had lots of friends far away giving support, but I was very isolated and can't think of the word. Very isolated and very lost. And then the surgery woke me up.
Oh. So although you had people around you, and there were people that were there, like, tangibly, you felt alone, you felt isolated, you felt lost. And it took for that level of, come on, Jen, you're here for so much more.
Yeah.
And that was a catalyst for you stepping on this journey. So how quickly from that moment, because what I see and what I think is quite often we want the tangible results just to happen right away, don't we? We just be like, well, I changed, I did something different. Like, what did that look like for you?
It was the scariest roller coaster I've been on. I remember going to the Lightwater Valley when I was a kid before we moved to New Zealand. And we went on the underground rat ride. That was terrifying. Choosing to become a single parent 6 months after brain surgery was just as terrifying. But the step process of I put my child first in everything I did. I didn't pay attention to my health or my well-being or anything. And then there were up days, there were a lot of down days until my body just couldn't take it anymore.
So it was almost like you'd had that moment, you were on the rat. I think that's the perfect example of life, isn't it? I think I put in the book on Surrender Sunday. Surrendering is like riding a roller coaster in a white suit trying to drink a latte. It's like
maybe a hot chocolate in my case, but yeah.
Yeah, just mess everywhere. You've stained all the good stuff. You're like, what is this? What our brain wants to say to us is it's just this linear journey from this moment of, oh my God, I'm choosing more, I'm choosing something different. My life is not going to be this. It doesn't matter how wonderful it gets. Like there's going to be, we expect it to just be like, oh, little coaster, I'll just enjoy sipping on my, it's not that.
No.
But I think so many of us can get lost because we're like, well, I chose. It wasn't going the way I wanted, so I chose something different. So, like, where's my chilled out latte ride?
The choosing something hugely different that no one in my family had done before, really. Again, I was still isolated on the journey. It was terrifying. And I thought I was doing everything right by putting Ella first. Because that's what everyone said.
Yeah. And now we are both parents. You've got Ella, I've got the boys. Like that instinctive drive to put them at the forefront of everything that we do is innate. I don't know if it's a maternal instinct. I don't know if it's society. I don't know why we do it, but we do, don't we? As mothers, as women, we put
others first.
Yeah, especially our children. Like we were good at doing it before, and then you get children, it's like, oh, I need to max out like this person. I just need to. How did life go when it was all about your daughter? It was all about prioritizing her needs, her wants, above and beyond anything that you needed.
It was an exhausting journey. She didn't have a good early childhood. I was never a happy mum. I never smiled much. I took her to places to make memories that she never remembers until 6 or 7 years later. The autistic brain is brilliant that way. It was very triggering for me in the way that, because I separated and she still goes to her dad's, she absorbs everything that she picks up at dad's. So she'd come home repeating it, which would trigger me because that's what I left to avoid. And it was immense.
So you were still in it. This is such a good point, because what the brain tries to do is escape, don't we? We're like, oh, this isn't working, so I'm going to withdraw and I'm going to escape and I'm going to try and remove myself. And the universe is like, no, babes, it's not going to work like that. That is a blocker in your way. And the work isn't to remove the work isn't to try and escape and hide. The work is to turn and face that blocker and be like, no more. This is not okay. We are not doing it this way. This cannot be it. So I think that's such a beautiful example for anybody listening right now to be like, oh, where in my life am I trying to escape something that's really uncomfortable, that's triggering me, that makes me feel all kinds of ways, that brings up all this trauma? Like, where am I trying to hide and escape from that? And where am I actually being called to turn and see it and go, this is not going to be my existence anymore. And the brain, especially like the dynamic that you're describing, I'm sure there's people listening that can relate to this. The family separations are tricky. Being able to navigate your power and your strength and be like, this ain't it anymore, and empowering our children to be able to say, this is not okay. I don't want you talking this way about my mom. Like, I love her. This is like, and not in this protective way, in this, does it feel good for them? And letting them feel into that. Like, does this feel good?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So I get to use my voice and my power to say, thank you.
Yeah, that's a lesson I've been trying to teach Shella for the last 5 years now.
But it comes through our power, doesn't it? I think
Yeah.
you and I are, but
I think coming across you in that first lockdown helped trigger
all kinds of
so much more healing. And it came at a time when I started focusing more on me.
yeah.
So I smile more, I laugh more. Ella thinks I'm nuts because I'm always so weird. But she doesn't remember the grumpy old me anymore.
And maybe she does. Maybe it is there, because we do. We can't just eradicate that part, but we get to bring our children through this journey with us. So when I look back and watch videos, there's a video that we've got on our screen and Wade put them all together, and we went pumpkin picking and they're like sliding off these hay bales. I'm just vacant. Like,
Yeah.
I'm watching myself and I'm like, I'm not even there. Like, what? And it's not skipping over that part because they experienced it. They were my children at that point in our life. Like, it's owning it and being, you know what? I was not in a good space there. I was surviving, like, to get you all ready and dressed and get myself ready and dressed and to get us all there and to figure it all out and know that there were going to be things that we had to navigate whilst there. It took me everything to stand up right. And I think we're allowed to own that. I think that's the message that I think you and I have both experienced. Go ahead.
Yeah. Every day I go through my memories on Facebook just to show Ella how cute she was. Usually she doesn't like it, but there's very few memories of me and her. Lots of memories of her, but that just reflects the negative place I was at for so long.
It. And that's it. And we get to own that. I think anybody listening that can relate to this and being like, I'm a mum, I am in survival mode, I am just about keeping my shit together.
Motherhood was a journey I wanted always. I didn't expect it was going to be this kind of journey for me.
No, we have this ideal notion, don't we? But the reality is really different. And when we can own that and we can say that wasn't me at my best, but my God, I'm going to show up every day now, doing my darndest to be the best version of me that I can be. And Jen, tell me about how the dynamic of everything has changed now, because before, under that dialogue of your child is the most important thing, you need to put her above you and yourself, and like, it doesn't matter that you're drowning, as long as you put her before you, she's more important. That was the mantra that you'd lived under for a long time. And then I hear that you're saying that dialogue has shifted now, that isn't the forefront. Now, the Francis in us wants to go, oh, you don't love her, she's not important. It's like, yes, I really wanted to keep doing that, but
she is still the reason I am doing everything.
Yeah.
Why I'm focusing on me, making our house a safe place for us. But I'm trying to empower her to use her voice, which she started to learn this year at school, especially, and with her dad, which of course he's blaming me. But as far as priorities go, I'm number one. She's definitely my number two. And now I've got the cats number three.
Yeah.
And
has that changed how much you love her?
I love how she is embracing herself in a way that I never did at 14.
Amazing. You're like, yes, it's working. And you loving yourself, you prioritizing yourself, you spending the time, money, and energy on yourself to do the work for you. Has that taken away from your love for Ella?
God, no. It's helped cement the fact that she is the reason why I kept going through that horrible roller coaster. That is life.
And how, because the roller coaster doesn't stop.
Oh God, no.
How does life, no, if we're waiting for that, we're gonna like just die of a very unfulfilled life. But how does life feel now on this roller coaster now that you're awakening that inner power, you're feeling your power, you're feeling like I have a voice, I have an opinion, I can prioritize myself in my life, and that doesn't take away from how much I love and provide for Ella. That's, if anything, that's highlighted it more. How does life feel now with you at the forefront of your life?
I feel a lot more in control of my life. I'm no longer relying on all the things people are saying, what I should do and where I should go and all that. I'll take it on board and I'll process it, sure. But if it doesn't feel right in my gut or in here, nah. Whereas old me would have people pleased and gone, okay, yeah, I'll do. Yeah.
How are the people around you? What's happening with the people around you where all of a sudden you're like, oh, like, I love you, I want you in my life? Because the brain says, right, if you've treated me in these ways that haven't worked for me, and I'm heightening my awareness and my intuition to know that that doesn't work for me anymore, heightening them to that point, and you having this awareness now being like, oh, that was not helpful for me at all. Now the brain wants to be, well, I have to cut them out then. They can't be part of my life. That's, the brain wants to work in these extremes. How have you navigated that?
By speaking my truth. I have alienated pretty much all my family by speaking my truth because they don't want to see outside of their blinkers of existence. They try to, everyone who disagrees with my truth, if they still try to communicate, they're just civil and cold. But these are all the people that I would have gone to for advice or guidance or support in the past. And it's a tricky journey.
It is. It's a recalibration. That's what I'm hearing here. And I know this because I've lived it. I've lived this, like, you're going through this recalibration and everybody around you is going through this recalibration. Your relationships. And if
things
you're
evolving.
Yeah, it's a new evolution. So their brains at the moment are going, this isn't our relationship. And if it's new, it's weird and it's scary to the brain. So you're being like, this is what feels good for me. This is what I want to do. And you're so open to this. And then there's these poor people. This is what I always think, these poor people around me that have got no idea that I'm on this expansive journey. And all of a sudden I'm putting these boundaries in place. I'm setting these things. They're like, what? I didn't ask for any of this. What is going on? This makes no sense. Freaking out. And you are the powerful one in this. You are the power in that I see what their brains are doing. They don't know how to have a relationship with me if I'm not listening to and hanging off every word that they say.
Absolutely. The last 4 years definitely made it clearer to me, the projections that people have been giving.
Isn't it just?
But I'm just going to keep doing me.
That's it. It's just enlightening to see it all. And holding a love and compassion for everybody else. Being like, you and I are spending so much time, money, and energy on figuring ourselves out. Like, it's insane. The people that we love aren't. I have no judgment. I have no judgment. I just have love. And I think I must be boggling your brain right now because the things that have been our relationship for the past 35 years, all of a sudden I'm like, that's not okay anymore. They're like, what? But this is the way it's been for so long.
Yeah.
When you can hold that love and compassion for people, and you're like, this must be terrifying for you. I love you. I want you in my life. But this is where it ends. Like, that is everything.
It is everything, and it feels terrifying, but it's on one of those up parts of the ride, the good bit.
That's it. That's it. And I love it's like the tension of you on the Oblivion, the literal vertical drop from it's like that tension of being pulled. It's that. It's knowing that you get the thrill of being up there and the joy of like at the end. It's that. That's exactly what it is. And so maybe that's a metaphor, because you know I'm in this work all about the metaphors for seeing like, oh, this is every time we're having these interactions, I get to open my heart with love, but I equally get to be like, it's not this anymore. And
Yeah.
that's terrifying for the people that we love, but it's so necessary for everybody, because then you enter into a new cycle of love and a new cycle of the relationship.
Yeah.
And this is so worthwhile to enter into that.
Especially as a mum.
Especially as a mom. Yes.
So I'm not passing on the same troubles, hopefully.
I think what we have to make peace with is the fact that we're gonna ruin them in some way.
Oh, she's
terrifying.
may not remember grumpy, angry mummy from when she was little, but the memories I made for her are part of the traumatic memories she's blocked out and isn't processing.
Yeah.
That's what she's told me.
That's it. The brain's very clever. I don't remember my childhood at all. I don't know if you
have very few memories.
That's it. The brain just blocks it out. It's like, too much. Let's just pretend it's not there. But the beauty of what you're doing and stepping into now, it's gonna be next level, because she's watching you through the process. She's watching you step into this. She's gonna like, oh my God, Mom.
I was always aware that she was watching. So when Mum tried to help me when I ballooned to 100 kgs, she took me to Fat Club, Slimming World, where it's competition in the little group who's lost the most. I didn't want her to be watching that. That's not a healthy environment in the house to grow up around.
And that's why probably your journey took you into nutrition and health and taking care of yourself. Like, tell me about that.
Like you, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia about 6 or 7 years ago. I burnt myself out working 4 jobs. And I still had the blinkers on. I didn't pay attention. I just gave in. It was not nice. And then 4 or 5 years ago, I decided actually I needed to focus on me. Ella had been taken away from me by her dad because I asked for help with behavior issues that she only gives to me. So I did a health DNA test to make sure there's nothing major going on, especially after the brain tumor. And that came back all clear. And then I got invited by my friend Bronwyn to go to an event to hear a speaker, David T.S. Wood. I think I've shared some of his stuff with you.
Yeah.
She just wanted me to hear him for 2 days. The environment of people in the community in that weekend, that opened my mind. This was about 6 months before I stumbled across your work, I think. And it was in that weekend I thought, all right, these stories have changed lives, physically, financially, whatever. I've not heard stories like that before, ever, in my 36 years, 37 years. And I walked away and I thought, why not? They all said there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it's a scam, like everyone says these things are scams, I'll just get my money back. And that was 4 years ago. I'm still following the system, slowly getting healthier. and I travel down to England frequently on buses these days to go to events, because being in the room with people like you, one day I'm going to come down and meet you.
Yes, we're going to make it happen.
Surrounding yourself with people like yourself or the Isagenix family, it works for me. It makes me feel not isolated, even though I am still isolated in rural Mid-Calder now.
Oh my God, you're living my dream. Literally, whenever I see you share with them, I'm like, yes, I want to be there.
This cottage I worked out is actually a dream I put on a vision board for New Zealand.
I kept wondering if the pieces
I wrote down financial targets, what I need to save to get to New Zealand by my 50th birthday, and what I want in a house. And it's got 3 bedrooms, although we only use 2. It's got the big kitchen. I could make a book corner. I've always wanted a library of some sort. It's big, it's got land. It's not close to the beach, but beach in Scotland's not the same as New Zealand. So it's this practice board.
Yes. And you're ahead of schedule. This is like the cats. You were like, oh, maybe the cats for 2024. And it's like, oh, they're here. You're ahead of schedule. The universe is conspiring. What I see time and time again is the people that get the tangible real life magic are the people that are willing to show up regardless, to show up relentlessly, to show up no matter what. You are one of those people. I didn't realize that the time scale of it was just 6 months before the Isagenix things was just 6 months before that we met. I thought you'd been at that for years. Like, this is all so new and so fresh. And when you look at that moment of there's more, 12 years ago, the brain surgery, from that point to where you're at now, it's like night and day. And this is just, like you said, the beginning.
Jenny of 2011 definitely wouldn't have envisaged this.
No.
Not at all.
No, she would not. She'd be sitting in the corner being like, no, let me ask my mom and dad. Like, let me ask my fiance, can I do that? No, I can't do that. Like, watch me.
Yeah. It's been a crazy journey the last 4 years.
It has, but how liberating to know that you can, and that this is just the beginning.
Totally. There's always another way.
There's always.
It doesn't have to be the way you've always been told.
No. And if it is, it's just the same results. And if you want more, if you want different results, it requires doing something different. So I have a couple of questions left before we finish up. My first one is, so in the work, we talk about the buffalo, the power of the buffalo, and the buffalo stepping into something that feels uncomfortable, stepping into something that you know is like, oh my God, this is a storm. I don't want to be in it. The cow, when it's in a storm, just runs. The storm follows it. But a buffalo is like, there's a storm and I'm running through it. And you get to the other side and you're like, I can breathe. What is this? Like, this is an up level. Like, the Jen from 11 years ago would not believe that I'm here. That's because of these buffalo moves you continue to make on that underground rat race. Like, I'm making it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. What do you know right now is the move that you're being called to make that will take you to that next level?
The move I'm being called to make. My brain is going with just keep going one step at a time with whatever comes my way.
So whatever it is, you know you're ready.
Whatever it is
coming, you're like, yes, and I'm going to be the buffalo. Your intuition is heightened. You can see what's coming for you, and you're like, I know this is a brain blocker, and I'm resisting it, and I'm not. I love that. 2 more questions. One being, what do you define as being free forever? Like, this notion to me of be anxiety free forever, but that idea of freedom, you get to create the world that you're here to. What does that look like? What does being free mean for you in your life?
Being free for me, I guess, even a year and a half ago, it would have been free from the control of Ella's dad. He's not paid his maintenance for her for 18 months now. So I've managed. I've coped. I don't need that.
You've done more than manage and cope, young woman.
So being free from that control, being free to have my days how I want to spend them is the ultimate goal. Where I don't have to spend 6 hours on a bus to and from work. I mean, I love my work with my old ladies or old gentlemen. It feels good to give them connection, but to be able to choose when I do that and to have time at home to bond with the cats or get out in the garden, that's freedom for me.
That's freedom, to be able to do whatever the funk you want with your day every day, and to have the connection with the people that you connect with as bonus, as voluntary, as extra. I like. Last question. What would you say to the little girl version of you, if you could think of her and go back there to little baby Jen, however old you are, but you're also speaking to all little girls out there in the world? What if there was one thing, one piece of information that you could pass on, something that you could say and you would get it? It's not like when most adults and they're like, oh, like they would get it, they would receive it with the energy, the intention, the purity, it would land in them, and they would take that through their whole life. What would you say to little you and every little girl out there?
I would say, don't listen to the grown-ups who tell you what you have to do or be.
I love that.
Do what makes your tummy feel good, not bad.
Do what makes your tummy feel good. Yes, if we were taught that from being little, we'd all be fine, wouldn't we?
Oh, totally.
Oh, well, that is the end of our podcast. I have absolutely loved doing that alongside you. So thank you very much for being here, Jen.
Thank you. It wasn't as terrifying as my tummy thought it was going to be.
Oh, do things that your tummy says is a good thing. Yay! Thank you, Jen.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, showing you how we get to be free, especially when we have an overthinking mind that doesn't want to be, but you know in your heart of hearts that we were made for more. Tune in to the next episode.